Hey everybody, it's Eric, your friendly sports nut. I'd like to welcome you all to Sportsnet News, the first episode. So on today's episode, I'd like to talk about some of the stuff that's going on in the sports world even throughout this COVID-19 pandemic. The first topic I'd like to cover is the NHL. They've been talking a lot recently about picking 4 cities to host one division each, multiple games a day, without fans, to finish the rest of the regular season and do the playoffs, or even just the playoffs. I personally think this is a great idea. If you can have all the players quarantined in one area, you have them go out, broadcast all the games, 3, 4 games a day, whatever they need to do, finish off this regular season, and get into the playoffs, get the hype, even if the fans aren't allowed in the building. It's going to create a lot of buzz for the NHL. You'll be able to watch the games on TV. The fans will be able to watch the games at home, have something to keep their minds off of this stupid pandemic. Like, it's getting to drive everybody nuts. And I know as sports fans, like you and I, it's definitely harder when you really, really, really want to go out to a sports bar and watch a game, or have some buddies over to watch a game, have a few brewskis. But at the same time, we know that staying home is the best option. This, adding the possibility of having sports back on TV, even if it is in front of no fans, it'll still be something to give us hope for a near future and the ending of this COVID. So I'm personally for it. What are your takes? Do you guys think it's a good idea? I know they've talked about Toronto, Edmonton, Carolina, a few other places. They're going to obviously talk a lot over the next few weeks, try and figure it out. They may even open up some of the training camps, have a mini training camp beforehand, allow teams to have their facilities open to their players if they can bring them back from wherever they are currently, because obviously a lot of them went home. So I think it's a good first step, but we'll see what happens. We'll see if any of this stuff pans out. So second of all, in regards to the NHL, this past weekend we had the NFL draft, and it was all done virtually. I personally won't be surprised if the NHL does the exact same thing. They've talked about pushing it back till after the season is finished, but at this rate, that might not be till September or October. Now, they have also talked about having it in its regular spot at the end of June. If it is at the end of June and you're able to do it virtually, I think it would be a great idea. Keep the consistency. Sens fans, Jets fans, any fan in the NHL will be able to really have something to look forward to in the next month and a half, 2 months, to say, hey, we're going to be picking first overall, fourth overall, whatever the case may be. It's something to get some excitement back into the NHL, even if the draft is done for next season before they finish off this season in whatever fashion that they decide to. Now, in regards to the NFL draft, I don't know about any of you guys, but I personally watched a lot more of it than I thought I would. I watched all of the first round, all of the second and third round on Friday, and then bits and pieces of the 4th through 7th rounds yesterday. The highlight was definitely Friday night, as it got later into the 3rd round, the commissioner, Roger Goodell, sitting back, chilling in his recliner, just kind of going, yeah, we got the 4th pick of the third round. He seemed to be drunk. I don't know about you guys. He also had a giant bowl of candy that seemed to dwindle down as the night was going on. So I have a feeling he was getting into the beers, the brewskis, whatever he drinks. Maybe even on a bit of a sugar decline later in the night when he realized he ate an entire jar of what looked to be M&Ms. So it was personally great. I know the Patriots, my team, had a decent draft. A lot of people are still shaking their heads as to why they didn't draft a quarterback. Now they have gone out and signed a couple undrafted quarterbacks, so we'll see how that turns out. But one of the biggest highlights was Neville Gallimore, who's born and raised here in Ottawa in the 613, representing, coached by one of my friends, Paul Deek. I don't know if you're on this, but he just got drafted into the NFL with the Dallas Cowboys of all teams. Yeah, as a Pats fan and a local guy, it would have been cool. But, I mean, you know what? That's super huge for him and super huge for the city of Ottawa. There was also another Canadian guy from Abbotsford, BC, that was drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers. So a lot of you, I know a few of my friends on this group are Steelers fans. So I'm sure you guys are pretty pumped about that. Now, the other side of the NFL kind of touches at my heartstrings a bit. The fact that Brady left and now Gronk decided, you know what, I'm going to come out of retirement. I want to trade. I want to go play for Tampa Bay. My personal thing is, it kind of irks me, but at the same time, you know what? Let them go do their thing. If they win a Super Bowl without Bill Belichick, then you may see the greatness of Tom Brady and what he's able to do no matter where he is. That being said, if they fail miserably and fall flat on their face, that'll prove that it was more due to Belichick's system, which I know a few people that I've talked to have said, I don't see him doing very well outside of New England. Now, me personally, I'd like to hope that he would do well. I'm not expecting him to play in the Super Bowl this year or even next year. He's got a 2-year contract. So we'll see, but it should make a very exciting NFC South to have Brady and Drew Brees in the same division. What do you guys think? Now, this COVID-19 pandemic has ripped through many of the countries in the world. I know a lot of people are pissed off that they can't go out, they can't get together with friends, they can't watch live sports, but I can tell you one of the highlights of my COVID-19 pandemic quarantine, whatever you want to call it, is rewatching some of these classic games. I wasn't a sports fan back then, but I just was able to see the Blue Jays win back-to-back World Series in 92 and 93. It was really cool to see what it was like back then. The crowd, 50,000 plus at Rogers Center, Skydome back then. And just to see what kind of a difference you have in like the viewing. So it's a smaller screen. It's obviously not HD, none of that fancy videography that they have now, but it was really, really cool to watch and to be able to see some of these historic moments. Now, more recent memory, got to see my Winnipeg Blue Bombers win the Grey Cup again, which was awesome. First time in 29 years. Now they've technically won it twice in 29 years because I just saw them watch it again. So, on that note, how many of you watched some of these games? Did you watch the Raptors run to the playoffs last year where they won the championship? The infamous Kawhi shot in Game 7 against the Sixers. That was amazing to rewatch. Oh my god, just the chills watching that shot bounce, 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 and fall in, and the crowd go nuts was just insane. Not to mention hearing the words, Canada, the title is yours. The Toronto Raptors are the NBA champions for the first time ever. It was so cool to rewatch that. Now, then there's the other side of the ball. You got the bat flip. You got some of these big games over the playoffs for the Blue Jays in 2015, 2016. I've watched some classic NHL games, like when Gretzky scored to break Gordie Howe's record for 802 goals. When Ron Tugnut of the Quebec Nordiques had 70 saves in a 3-3 overtime tie against the Boston Bruins. It's just been pretty cool to watch some of these replays of these games that some of them I wasn't even alive for. Some of them I don't remember because I wasn't a sports fan or I was too young. Now, the last thing I'd like to talk about is just sports in general. As some of you know, most of you know, I follow pretty much every sport. Currently, Winnipeg Jets. I also follow the Ottawa Senators in the NHL, Toronto FC in the Major League Soccer, Toronto Raptors NBA, Toronto Blue Jays MLB. I've got a lot of different sports that I like to follow. Leave a comment with who you like to follow, who you cheer for, who your alliances are, because it's really cool to see what kind of a world we live in and the different teams that people cheer for and why. I personally started watching the NFL back in 2000. I wasn't really paying attention much. I watched the first Super Bowl in 2000. I watched the Super Bowl in 2001. And then I just kind of fell in love with the New England Patriots. Don't ask me why. It just kind of happened. So I have been a Pats fan since Brady first came into the league. Now, a lot of people will say, "Oh, you're just a bandwagon jumper." It's like, no, not really. I watched the first season that Brady came in, taking over for Drew Bledsoe. How well he was able to do, get them into the Super Bowl, win them the Super Bowl, and then the rest is history, as they say. 6 Super Bowls, 9 appearances. Obviously, the biggest downside was going 17-0, 18-0, and not finishing that season and losing to the Giants in the Super Bowl. But c'est la vie. We lost twice to the Giants, once to the Eagles, but we've also won 6 Super Bowls. So I can say I'm pretty happy. There's a lot of teams out there that haven't won a Super Bowl or haven't won one in decades. So, it is what it is. Toronto FC, same thing. It's like I've only been a soccer fan really for probably about 5-6 years now, but picking Toronto FC, watching them go from basically nothing to now winning a MLS Cup, winning the Supporters Shield, winning the Canadian Championship multiple times, also making it all the way to the CONCACAF Champions League final. It's just been one hell of a run. I know I love my brothers and sisters of Red Patch Boys and Adriati, Kings of the North, all the supporters groups in the south end of BMO Field. I miss going to games. I was hoping to go to a game probably in May or June, preferably May, right around my birthday coming up, but that may not happen for a while, but I really hope so, because it's something that is really fun for me and Dom, the wife, obviously, to be able to get out, go down to Toronto, spend a weekend with some friends, spend a weekend with family, watch a Blue Jays game, watch a TFC game, all that kind of stuff. So what kind of games do you guys like to go to? What's your favorite road trip story? Like, I want to know some of these topics, and feel free to comment with topics for the next video, what you want me to talk about. This is just kind of an experiment. I wanted to do something fun. I wasn't sure how this will go, but hey, I figured I'd give it a shot. People keep saying, you're such a sports nut, why don't you do a podcast? Well, I don't really have the technology and the stuff for an actual podcast, but eventually maybe that'll happen. But I just wanted to try it out. So, long story short, I am a huge sports nut. As a lot of you know, I follow a lot of sports. I know a lot of you follow a lot of sports. A lot of you love this group, Keeping Up with Sports, posting about sports. I have my Jets stuff on today. I think what I'll do is every episode I'll change up with different jerseys and stuff that I have in my closet, different hats I have in my closet, just to kind of give a little bit of fun. I may even bring out some of my memorabilia. I have a replica Grey Cup ring from the Red Blacks, a replica Raptors championship ring, the banners from Alfredson's jersey retirement, Phillips jersey retirement, a bunch of bobbleheads, some autographed pictures. So yeah, let's just have some fun with this. So like I say, drop me a comment. Let me know what you think, how it went, anything I can improve on, what you'd like me to talk about in my next subject, on my next podcast, my next video, whatever you want to call this. So yeah, let's just have some fun with it. Anyways, thanks guys. Hope you enjoyed, and try and stay safe out there, and hopefully the end is near and we can get back to watching some live sports on TV. Cheers.